All right, welcome back. Another edition of Pub Politics on a Wednesday this week. We like to shake things up every once in a while. Speaking of shaking things up, Wes is back from the left coast.
Yes, sir.
The liberal part of California.
I brought this jacket with me from the liberal part of California.
So, is there have you undergone any kind of a change?
Not a political, ideological transition, but just a style transition.
I understand. All right, well, that's something to look forward to in future episodes as well. Antjuan Seawright with us on the Democratic side this week, filling in. You know, I always say Phil Bailey is the constant.
Yeah.
We make fun of Wes for being gone, but now Phil is gone.
Phil's visiting his father in Canada.
Oh, well, that's a good reason.
Yes, sir.
So Antjuan is here, Wes, of course, on the Republican side. Some big national news this week, guys. Obviously, Mitt Romney picking his vice presidential choice, Paul Ryan, the congressman from Wisconsin. It's interesting watching how this came about the last couple of days on the different news channels, because it's a situation where a lot of Republicans seem to be happy about Paul Ryan. A lot of Democrats say they're happy about Paul Ryan because they feel they can run or use the budget and what he plans to do with Medicare against the Republicans. Wes, as the smartest Republican in the room, well, actually, I shouldn't say that because your wife's here today.
She's back here behind the camera.
She's much smarter than Wes.
As the second smartest Republican in the studio today, Wes, what say you about the choice of Paul Ryan?
I think it's great. You know, I tweeted, this isn't the sexy choice, but this is the ideological choice. And I got a lot of scorn from the women saying, no, this is the sexy choice because his body fat percentage evidently is lower than the federal budget percentage.
Right.
But you
I didn't know that.
Yeah. But listen, I like this pick because it's not the sexy choice. It's the one that says we care about policy. We care about budget. We care about spending. He couldn't have picked a better guy that knows the ins and outs of the federal budget. And whenever you look at the problems we're having right now, listen, we might have whooped up on China in the Olympics, but they're whooping us up on the world stage when it comes to the economy. And on economic issues, there's no better choice than Paul Ryan. It's an excellent pick.
Antjuan, I alluded to this. A lot of Democrats, though, are excited because they think they have some fodder against Paul Ryan.
I used a joke to a good friend of mine via Twitter. I think Barack Obama's hand was hurting from all the high fives he received after the pick. I mean, the Republicans are touting this guy as a budget hawk. Well, guess what? During the Bush administration, he voted for TARP. He voted for increased war spending. He also voted for the bailout, in which his presidential candidate, Romney, was so much against. So, I mean, this guy, we talk about increased spending. It's just another example of what I call hypocrisy.
Wes, you can respond to that if you'd like.
Yeah, I mean, listen, when you look at, they've been talking about Medicare. When you look at Obamacare, I mean, it's slashing Medicare budget by about $106 billion. And this is a guy that understands what we have to do with the budget. You know, they're trying to throw out these scare tactics about it's going to hurt seniors. But here's what I'm really concerned about when we talk about vice presidential candidates. You know, Obama in his inaugural administration said we're going to get away from the politics of fear. But Biden this week threw out this charge that Republicans want to put people back in chains. We weren't talking about white people. We're talking about African Americans like you, Antjuan. What's going on with these fear tactics? Fear tactics from the White House.
Wes and his propaganda pump does a good job of getting away from the issues. Let's get back to the Paul Ryan budget. His budget proposes $6,500 per person under the age of 50, increase in what they would have to put in terms of Medicare. 77 years ago, Medicare was created to keep people out of poverty. It's done a good job. And now this guy, Mr. Paul Ryan, actually wants to eliminate Medicare. So here we go.
I don't want to eliminate Medicare. He wants to streamline Medicare. He wants to
eliminate Medicare as we know it today.
He wants to streamline Medicare so it can be sustainable for people like you and I of our age. That's the problem. It's going to go bankrupt before you and I can reap the money that we're putting into it.
That's the political spin he puts on it. The bottom line is he wants to do it for those under the age of 50 because guess what? He thinks in his mind, well, we don't vote. So if he keeps it in place as is for those who are over the age of 50 who may be enjoying the system now, then they will continue. But on the other hand, it's also the guy who supports the issue of no early voting and this voter suppression. And guess what?
This again.
So guess what?
Again, seriously?
So now he wants to eliminate Medicare for the people under 50, basically, and now he wants to cut the right to vote for those for our seniors.
We hate seniors. We hate black people. We're going to put all the African Americans back in chains. So says Vice Presidential Biden. If y'all's strategy is scare tactics, y'all are really, really screwed come November.
Wes does a good job with the propaganda, getting away from the issues. The bottom line is, this guy. If you can answer one question, tell me how does he differ from Sarah Palin?
Sarah Palin was nothing but a celebrity. Sarah Palin was more interested in being in the front of magazines and being on reality talk shows than she was being a leader, which is why she resigned from being governor of Alaska. This is a policy wonk, not some celebrity wannabe like Sarah Palin was. Sarah Palin was a poor choice. I don't care what anybody says, poor choice. This guy is the ideological policy wonk America needs to get back on track.
And I hear you say that, but just tell me one issue that they fundamentally disagree on.
The budget. The budget. This
How
guy,
so?
this guy provided a budget. Congressmen don't just write their own budget. This guy wrote his own budget and said, "Here it is. Obama's budget sucks. The budget that even the Republicans and the Democrats in Congress are writing sucks. Here's a budget that makes sense, that puts America back on track." That's how they're different. This guy's a wonk. I love it. I love it.
There's a lot of talk about Paul Ryan and even Joe Biden with the comments he made the other day. Eventually, though, isn't it going to come down to Obama versus Romney? I mean, how much stock do people put in a vice presidential candidate? Because Ryan's getting a lot of the press right now, but once the election comes in November, I mean, how much stock do people put in, I'm going to vote for this ticket because of the vice president? Is that, I mean, I know Sarah Palin got a lot of heat for McCain losing the election. I don't know if that's fair or not, but how much do people actually put stock in?
I think for a season in this part of the election process, I think it matters, and it's part of chatter, and of course it fluctuates poll numbers. But at the end of the day, it's going to be about Barack Obama's policies and his proven track record versus Romney's, whatever he thinks he's done, and his Romney care, being the father of universal health care. I think that's what it's really going to come down to, the individual presidential candidates. I think the vice presidential candidates are just what they are, vice president and support staff.
I think Antjuan agree with this with me. A lot of it's also about swing state politics.
Absolutely.
I mean, Wisconsin's going to be a swing state, so that helps. And I think Paul Ryan can help with some of those swing states, just as Biden. Sorry, I'm sounding like Sarah Palin now. That's what she said. Biden. Sorry, just as Biden did in the last election.
I want to touch on one quick thing that came to light. It was kind of quiet this week because we thought the Nikki Haley ethics thing was over and done with once the panel cleared her. But the Republican activist John Rainey, who originally brought this to a judge, decided to appeal and because he didn't think that it should have been dismissed in the first place and gone to the House Ethics Panel. He thought the court should have decided on it. Now he appeals. The Supreme Court agrees to hear it. So what's going to happen now, Wes? Is this done? What's going on?
We're in a year, especially with these ballot controversies. I can't predict what happens with judges right now because all kind of screwy stuff's happening across the state of South Carolina.
Right.
But I just wish we can let sleeping dogs lie. This is an issue that the Ethics Commission, or the Ethics Committee, House Ethics Committee, has already looked at. A couple judges have already looked at. Let's just get past this so Nikki Haley can do what Nikki Haley does best: create jobs for the state of South Carolina.
I tend to disagree a little. Really? I think the courts and judges are insulated from some of the political realities and some of the political pressures. So being that this judge wants to, rule in favor of Mr. Rainey, I think it's a good thing, because one thing this ethics committee was, and you would have to agree, this is a political committee who was owned by Republicans. And so, of course, when you're in control, as you all are, both bodies, truthfully, you have the power to kind of do and sway things to go as you want it to go. So I think being a judge and the courts, I think you're insulated from some of the political pressures and realities. So I think this is actually good for the system.
And Democrats certainly aren't going to complain when they're investigating the Republican governor.
Oh,
either.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, anytime we can hear the truth for a change, why not?
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll certainly keep an eye on that. We'll keep an eye on vice presidential politics as well, and we'll talk about it here. Antjuan, again, thanks for filling in for Phil. Wes, welcome back.
Thank you, sir.
Love the wardrobe.
Thank you.
Can't wait to see what you wear next. PubPoliticsLive.com is the website. I think it's an off week this week for the pub version.
Taking a break. We'll be back next Wednesday.
All right, but check the website, PubPoliticsLive.com. You can find out where these guys are going to be. Guys, thanks. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, sir.
All right, back to you.